Hello and welcome to Midnight Podcast. It's not a normal podcast. We're doing another interview with David Pittman. He's the developer of Eldritch, and we also have his brother in a live stream chat right now. So I guess he'll be answering questions too. Say hi, David.
Hello.
So tell us about. Well, I forgot to mention we also have Yessik here, but he's sort of my co-host and everything, so he's always here.
That's true.
Anyway, so tell us about Eldritch.
Yeah. Eldritch is a first-person action game inspired by roguelikes, immersive sims, and H.P. Lovecraft, which means it's kind of like Dishonored meets Spelunky.
Which is... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Yessik.
So, it's inspired by Dishonored, Spelunky, just general roguelikeness. But the main thing of interest to me is the Lovecraft inspiration. Have you actually read much Lovecraft?
I've read a fair amount of Lovecraft, not nearly everything he wrote. I'm sure Lovecraft purists will find lots to nitpick in the game, like Shoggoths don't belong in Innsmouth or whatever. But yeah, I was more interested in making an action game, and then the Lovecraft setting kind of came later because I knew that I wanted to do something that had kind of Dishonored, Bioshocky mechanics, something where you had a weapon in your right hand and a power in your left.
Oh man, that totally reminds me. I forgot to start with my joke question kind of thing.
Oh yeah, we can get
Okay.
Okay, so I also forgot to mention that David has worked on stuff like Bioshock 2 and it was XCOM Declassified, right? The
Yeah.
Bureau?
Yeah.
And so earlier today, I got in an argument with some people about whether the handyman could beat the bouncer. The handyman from Bioshock Infinite could beat the bouncer from Bioshock 1 and 2. And so I realized later after the argument that I would be able to ask David because he worked on AI stuff for the Big Daddies. So tell us what you think.
So my first thought was that, the handyman, he's got that big glowing thing in his chest, and I thought, like, the bouncer's drill could just punch right through that, and I thought it would be an easy win for the bouncer. But then you made the point that the handyman, they can jump really high, and, like, I remember this one time when we were working on Bioshock 2, the player could climb up onto some crates, and the bouncer has no way to get up, and he has no ranged attack, so the player could just sit there with, like, a pistol or whatever, just blinking away at him all day, and the bouncer can't do anything. So, yeah, I think I have to give the advantage to the handyman on that one.
Yeah. So the handyman could lose, though, if it was in the right area or whatever.
Yeah, like, I think if the bouncer, if he knew the handyman was coming, he could just charge and hit him with the drill just one time. That would be all it would take.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's solved. So we already hit that first question. There wasn't even a question, but telling us about Eldritch. So, what other influences besides Lovecraft are there for Eldritch? I mean, you said Dishonored and Spelunky, but I don't know if you consider those influences or just I don't know.
Yeah,
just tell us more.
Yeah, I think I absolutely do consider those influences. Like, this was a game that started very much about the gameplay more than like the theme or the setting, and it was important to me to have all the movement mechanics that a game like Dishonored or Far Cry or 3 or something has, where you can lean out, you can do power slides, you can crouch jump, all that kind of cool stuff. And the Lovecraft setting actually kind of came later when I was looking for, like, I know that I want to have monsters and magic and cool weapons, and I need a setting that will kind of unify all of this. And I didn't want to do science fiction, I didn't want to do Tolkien-esque fantasy, because those are just so played out. And Lovecraft is played out too in video games, but it tends to be used for, like, survival horror games.
Yeah.
And not so much for action games. So I thought it could be an interesting combination that people hadn't really seen before.
Well, actually, that does tie into a question I was going to ask, and it already answered it, actually, so I'm not even sure why I'm bringing this up. But I was going to ask what made you go with an action game with a Lovecraft theme instead of the more traditional horror, as, it's usually a bunch of gentlemen all in their suits going through Lovecraft. And that really answers that question quite well.
I think there's a lot of games, like Eternal Darkness did the Lovecraft kind of like loss of sanity thing really well, and there was Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth, and there's some games that have done like the more literal take on Lovecraft really well, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me to try to compete with those, but I thought, there was kind of like just a charmingly bizarre aspect to the world that could fit with an action game really well.
All right. Do you think you still have a lot of horror elements in the game, or because I know sometimes I'll just be like walking around some corners or something, and I'll just hear like the random ambient sounds or even just enemy sounds, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I have to be careful, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, it's actually been kind of a surprise to me when people have started playing the game, the number of comments that I've got about how scary the game is, because I didn't really think that it was when I was making it, but I see how it could be like when you don't know what you're going to find, and you hear all those noises in the level, and especially like when you get down to the deeper levels of this first world, and you start hearing the Shoggoths in the distance and everything. I think there's definitely it's not like meant to be a really scary game, but there's definitely that kind of like tension, and you're not really sure what you're going to find.
Yeah, I found that mystery always does bring some interesting horror elements to stuff. But anyway, I'll move on.
So I have a quick question about that. Since it was originally an action game and you kind of slapped on the theme later, I'm not saying that in a bad way, that's actually a great thing to do. Go with the gameplay first. But since you did that, did you then program in elements of horror? Like, did you decide on slight bits of uneasiness you could throw in afterwards, or did those exist in the game to begin with?
Some of the enemies in the game definitely came out of the setting. There's the screaming worms in this first world that were definitely kind of like a, what can I do that's creepy? And like, I don't know if people have figured out yet that the worms can't actually hurt you. All that they can do when they scream is the other AIs that are nearby might hear them. But yeah, they're definitely something that's just meant to frighten you.
I hadn't even realized that. Yeah. I just try to kill everything as quick as possible. In the video that I did on the game, there was this big blob thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
Those are my version of a Shoggoth.
Oh, okay. Man, can you kill those?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure, because I think I had 30 bullets, and so I just kept firing them. I may have... No, I think I used all my bullets on the shopkeeper, but I was being really careful about fighting the Shoggoth, but I ended up dying.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a good way to communicate that they're invincible. Like, they don't bleed when you shoot them, and in the next version of the game, like, shooting them won't even knock them back, so there will be just about no feedback at all when you shoot them.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really a challenge to try to explain to the player that something is not taking damage when you shoot it.
Yeah.
Well, a small idea here, even though it might be a bit too complicated for a game of this graphical style, is you could have it leave damage and then just heal up immediately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do anyways. I don't know.
So like you mean like you would be able to kill it if you did enough damage in a quick amount of time?
No, I mean like there would be a visible damage indicator that would immediately fade away.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Actually, that might be something I'll have to add.
That reminds me of, I think it was Legend of Grimrock. You could, like, stun the last boss, but I don't think you could actually kill him. I think that was Legend of Grimrock. I don't remember. I've been playing too many dungeon crawlers.
Never got very far in Grimrock. I really liked it, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I don't want to talk too much about that since it's not really about that, but I definitely loved Grimrock. But it got pretty tough at sometimes.
Okay, so, next question I have is, you said yourself, and it says on the website, that the game's kind of a mix of Spelunky and Dishonored. Like, you really like the idea of a weapon and some magic. But does that mean that the items are going to be more limited than in a game like Isaac, for instance?
Probably so. To be honest, I actually haven't played a lot of Isaac yet. I could maybe talk about the reasons for it, but mostly it's just I haven't had the time. I really like Spelunky, and I've spent a lot of time with Spelunky. And so I was looking at games like that for the kind of the high-level structure and the number of levels, how fast it takes to go through them, that kind of thing. Whereas I was definitely looking at something like Dishonored for what the gameplay was going to be. Dishonored and Bioshock were probably my biggest touchstones for what powers you had, what weapons you had, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't actually know like how many items there are in Isaac, but my impression is there's quite a lot, and the item set in Eldritch is much smaller than that. There's not a lot of redundancy in Eldritch. Like, you have the revolver, which is your main weapon, because I thought about adding like a shotgun or a machine gun, but mostly they're just also ranged weapons. They just have a different shape to the damage that they do, or they fire at a different rate, and that just seemed kind of redundant. And with Eldritch, I really wanted to just strip away everything that could be kind of excessive and focus on, what am I really trying to do here? If I'm just trying to shoot an enemy with ranged damage, I really only need one gun that does that.
Yeah.
Well,
makes a lot of sense.
It also fits very heavily with the theme because, in Lovecraftian worlds, they never have a machine gun and a flame. Well, actually, there is a book where he has a flamethrower, but that's very specific. They never have insane weapons.
Yeah, I thought the Tommy gun might be appropriate for the era, and I think like when I was looking up art references, like the Arkham horror stuff, I think they sometimes carry Tommy guns in that, although I don't think they ever did in any of the stories. But yeah, ultimately I wanted to just strip away all the excess and make like the most minimal set of really meaningful items that I could.
Well, if you want to go very true to the mythos, just add a flamethrower.
All right.
Actually, a flamethrower would be pretty interesting as like some big epic weapon that is like super ultra rare, hard to find. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I could see that being like the one thing that could kill a Shoggoth too.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about all the Cthulhu love here. You probably didn't know this beforehand, but I have actually read every Cthulhu story and every Lovecraft story.
Oh, awesome!
So,
your knowledge will put mine to shame then. But I'm okay with that. Like, I understood that I had kind of a very surface knowledge of Lovecraft coming into this, but it was also just fun for me to read more of his stories and research it.
So when you were reading them during the development of the game.
I did a lot of reading before I started, but yeah, it's very recent.
Was there anything like drastic that you had to change because you learned something during the development in the books?
No, that's a good question, but I can't think of anything that happened like that.
Okay. That's sort of similar to another question I was going to ask. Was there a period where Eldritch seemed like it wouldn't reach the light of day? And if so, like, why was that?
I don't think circumstances ever felt that drastic. I was definitely stressed out. Around midway through the project, I was working on the second world of the game, and I had set up milestones for myself so that, like, I knew I should have this world done by June and this world done by July, kind of thing. And it looked like I was going to miss one of those milestones, and I was really stressed out about it. But things actually kind of worked out. Like, at this point, I'm releasing the game 2 months ahead of my original schedule.
Oh, that's awesome. So, since you already brought up World 2, let's talk about that. I can't remember my question earlier, but if you can remind me, that would be great.
A question on World 2?
Yeah. What was my question? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I finished World 1, and I don't know exactly what's entitled as finished. I got the Dagon's Eye or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and put it on the pedestal. I went to book 2, but then I ended up dying while I was down there. One of those statues that are similar to the Doctor Who crying angel, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what killed me. I didn't realize they were so fast. That was crazy. Anyway, so one of those killed me, and so I lost all my stuff because I think this was probably mentioned already, but it's a roguelike. Right. So I lost all my stuff, and so I kept trying to go into World 2, but I ended up dying so quickly, and I was just going to ask you if it's necessary to go back to World 1 to sort of build up all your inventory and everything just to do World 2.
Yeah, I've been doing some balancing against that. Like, I don't want it to be absolutely necessary to go back to the first world, and it's probably a little bit too hard right now in the beta. I've actually tuned down the damage that the statues do a little bit, so hopefully people can just pick up and go straight to World 2, because that's kind of the point of the world staying unlocked, is that you could just jump straight in and not have to start playing from the beginning. But if you want to actually finish the game, you do actually have to go through all 3 worlds in a row. So ultimately, once you've unlocked all the worlds and you've kind of gone through them the first time and you've learned what the enemies are going to be like, the player does have to go through that whole progression of World 1, World 2, World 3, get each of the souls, and then bring them out.
Okay.
So you mentioned Minecraft as an inspiration. Does that mean that this game will be incredibly loaded with like every secret imaginable? Or not Minecraft? Sorry, it's not Minecraft. Spelunky. That's what I
Spelunky.
meant to say there. Yeah.
Yeah. It has some secrets. I don't want to give too much away about that yet. Not quite as many, I think, as Spelunky has. Like if you're familiar with like the eggplant in Spelunky, there's nothing that esoteric. But yeah, there's some secrets to find. There's reasons to play the game again after you finish it the first time.
So he brought up Minecraft as an influence, and I know you said that it's. I know you didn't necessarily say that it was an influence, but did that influence the art at all?
It was definitely it validated the art, I guess I would say, more than inspired it. Like if Minecraft didn't exist, I might have briefly thought about like, oh, I can just make a whole world out of boxes, but I would be like, no one would ever accept that. Like that's gonna look like garbage. It's just a whole world made out of boxes. But then like Minecraft came along and was like, no, actually you can do that, and people think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, like for this game, the world being made out of voxels and the enemies all being so low polygon, it's more about me having relatively low amounts of art skill and just needing to get something done in the time that I had, rather than like an aesthetic preference for that. But
it still looks pretty great, though.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
The one thing that people don't seem to realize about Minecraft is that it was nowhere near the first voxel game,
Oh yeah.
and that every game that is voxel is not necessarily based on Minecraft. But I do have to agree, it does really validate the style.
Yeah, that's something that I... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, never mind, I was talking about the game. Go on.
Something that I hope we see, you know, maybe Eldritch could be part of this movement. You know, maybe there'll be some other bigger game that comes along. But I hope that we start to see more games that do use voxels but don't have those elements in common with Minecraft of like, you know, exploring a really large open world and gathering resources and stuff. Because like a voxel world is really just the 3D version of like a tile world in a game like Super Mario Brothers. Like when people compare Eldritch to Minecraft, I'm kind of like, it's like comparing Spelunky to Terraria. Like they're from the same perspective and they both use tiles, but the gameplay is completely different. And I think, you know, right now Minecraft is obviously a very big game, and so anything that uses voxels will get compared to that. But hopefully, you know, in the coming years, people will grow to accept voxels as just like, yeah, this is a way that you can make 3D worlds.
So, I have another quick question for you. This one is more mechanic related. I have already found one of these toxic fruits that I have actually heard a decent amount about. I have avoided picking them up so far because can there be a plus to eating toxic fruits?
There can be a plus to eating toxic fruit. There's a 2 in 3 chance that they will heal you, and a 1 in 3 chance that they'll damage you instead. So you're gambling.
How does that apply to the rotten meat?
Oh, it's the same ratio for the rotten meat. In
Okay.
fact, meat and plants are basically always the same. The only reason that I put plants in is because I have friends who played Deus Ex with a vegan play style, meaning that they would only eat like the soy food and the juice packets and things. And so I wanted to have vegan play style as an option in Eldritch, so you could play
awesome.
through the game and not eat meat and not ever get the tinning kit that lets you eat enemies, and just only use plants and fountains to heal yourself.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about the tinning kits and all that extra stuff. I was only thinking about weapons. So what sort of inspirations did you have when sort of building those items?
Those tended to revolve just around like, what are the really cool, interesting things that you can do in the world, and what would I want to do if like I had more power over that. So like the world had locked doors and you could get keys and you could unlock them. And then I was thinking like, what if you had a power where you could lock a door so that an enemy couldn't follow you? And it didn't turn out to be the most useful ability. Although I've said that about other abilities, and then they turned out to be some of players' favorites. So I'm sure there's someone out there who will think that like the locksmith kit is the coolest thing in the game. But yeah, it was just about like, how can I take the systems that are there in the game and give the player an additional way to express themselves with those systems?
Okay.
So the game's not quite out in full release, and I know I realize you said you want this to be more of an action game than anything else, but in keeping with the theme, are you going to have more unkillable enemies that are going to force you to run away?
There's so if you've seen the Shoggoths and you've seen the statues in World 2, which actually those are killable, but only if you have dynamite. Those are the only unkillable enemies in the game, as far as I recall. And I'm not planning to add a lot at this point. Like the game that you're playing right now is very close to the beta, and the beta it's for all intents and purposes done. Anything that I change after that will just be bug fixing, compatibility issues. But there is a chance I might want to add some free DLC later. I haven't really thought too much about that, but like I have the framework to do it, and if the game does really well, like I think that could be something cool to add. So if you have ideas, I mean, and anyone in the chat too, like feel free to talk about what you would like to see in the game, because it could happen.
I don't mean to nitpick or anything, but one interesting thing I would like to see is, isn't it enemies only respawn after you loot them?
Yeah.
Okay, the way I easily got around that is I would just never really loot enemies. So I don't know if there was something to sort of prevent that from just making all enemies disappear, or if that was intended, then I mean I guess that's fine too, but I'm not sure if that was intended.
Yeah, it is actually meant to be like an interesting choice that you can make, where like if you choose not to loot enemies, the world won't repopulate, but then you don't get the loot, and so maybe you run out of bullets faster. And that's something that I'm going to be looking at during the beta, is like, does that become way too easy if people play it that way? Are there too many items to find besides bodies and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that might actually be true, because like I said earlier, I was getting like 30 bullets or so, and I wasn't looting any bodies or anything.
Yeah. So yeah, there's still.
And I think 30 is considered a lot. It seemed like a lot for gameplay purposes.
Once you get to the later worlds, you can run out your bullets really fast, but certainly in this world, 30 is a lot.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay. So, like I said, I haven't gotten very far yet. Is there much in the way of big boss fights, or is it all going to be adventure and exploration and finding?
It's all pretty much like this. I wanted to do some big boss fights just because it would be really cool to, fight an old one or something. But I also wanted to make sure that players could play stealthy, play non-lethal, and not have to deal with, like, how do you fight a boss when you're trying to observe not killing anyone? It's kind of like the controversy over Deus Ex Human Revolution, where they put in the boss fights, and then people who wanted to be stealthy, had to do these big combat sequences. It didn't make a lot of sense to me to have, a big boss fight in a game that was about trying to let the player play their own way. So yeah, I don't have boss fights in this game.
Well, so, go ahead.
Well, the main problem I had with the boss fight issue, I didn't mind the boss fights, but I would have liked workarounds in Deus Ex.
Absolutely. I think the first Deus Ex kind of treated it well, where like they had boss fights, but they were just kind of typical characters, and you could just ignore them, and the game would, let you do that and go on your way without killing someone. So if I had done something like that, if I had put boss fights in Eldritch, I probably would have done it like that. But then, if it's not like a really big monster with some cool, crazy way to fight it, like the spectacle is lower, and then I couldn't really justify putting in a boss fight at all, if that makes sense. So.
Well, okay, I know now. What I meant by a workaround is like you find a big boss fight and it's a spectacle, but I would like to be able to sneak on by it and maybe drop a chandelier on it. Yeah. Or something crazy.
I mean, that would be a totally valid way to design that. It just wasn't something that I was either interested in or had time to do in this game.
Oh yes, okay. Now, just speaking on personal preference, you've been reading a lot of the Cthulhu books right now. Who is currently your favorite old one?
My favorite, I like Nyarlathotep, or however you say it.
The names are always tough. If you had
I don't think he really qualifies as an old one. I forget exactly the definition of old one, but yeah, he seems.
Isn't he actually one of the ones in Eldritch?
He is. Yes.
Okay, I thought
he's
so.
in the second world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the name Yog-Sothoth, but I haven't got to that story yet, so I'm looking forward to reading that.
Speaking of which, have you ever played the game Yog?
I haven't yet. I was watching, Exotics, I think, was streaming it the other day, and that looked really cool. Like, yeah, I knew a little bit about it, but I hadn't watched anyone play it yet. But yeah, I have to check it out now.
That whole, I just want to tell a small story now. That whole experience really tripped me out because we interviewed the guys from the Yog at one point, and it's about like a monster who comes and destroys an entire village, and there's nothing the village can do or a natural event.
Mm-hmm.
So it really tripped me out that they did not know that Yog-Sothoth was an old one from a Lovecraft story.
Huh.
I just thought that was the most unbelievable thing. I'm like, you made an Cthulhu, like a. Never mind. I can't.
Guess, yeah, maybe they just kind of like came to the same idea and a similar name by chance. That's funny.
Related to the graveyard that you were just in a minute ago, I'm not sure if I would eat baked meat that I found in a graveyard. There's the thing. I forgot its name.
Hoggoth.
Yeah.
It's stuck in a wall for me.
Yeah. He's kind of hanging out halfway through the wall.
So is the game done once you finish the 3 books?
No, there's another world after that.
Okay. How many worlds like that are there?
There's just the one more world after that.
Okay. How incredibly more tough, that was a terrible way to phrase that, is that second world?
The feedback that I've got so far is that the second world is the hardest. Of the 3 that you can get to from the hub, the second world is the hardest. And then the third world, there's a lot of tough enemies in it, but it's not quite as hard. And then the last level after you collect the 3 souls and you head out to the library, that level it's very maze-like. Like, I don't know if anyone streamed it. I think maybe Poe streamed it, but not too many people have seen it yet, so I don't want to give too much away. But it's very maze-like, and it's got a lot of tough enemies in it. So yeah, it can be really tough, especially if you're trying to find all the secrets.
Okay. I just want to say to the chat that we're getting close to the end of our questions as the interviewee or whatever. So if you have your own questions, you can start posting them in chat, and we'll start asking them.
No.
I think some of them have already been answered by Pirate Hearts. But anyway, so we'll continue our questions, and if we see some in chat, we'll ask those as well.
Not quite done with my questions yet. I actually have one more that I have written down here.
Well, I was just saying we were getting towards the end of our lists.
So I'm just wondering, I haven't really been paying attention to the story because I've been conducting an interview or the text. So how much Cthulhu mythos is actually worked into this? Like, have you actually worked in the lore of some of the books that you've read, or has it mainly just been a story of your own telling, or have you used the characters from previous books?
Yeah, it's a pretty superficial adaptation. Like, I use the names and some of the themes. Like, this world is very loosely based on Shadow over Innsmouth, and the second world is very loosely based on the Nameless City. But it's not trying to tell the stories of, like, it's not trying to retell those stories or involve those characters or anything. It's definitely very much like there's this character that you're playing as in this game, and I wanted to tell that story. But honestly, the story isn't a very big part. Mostly, I just wanted to make a game that was fun and had cool weapons and cool monsters, and everything else just kind of is there to support that.
If you're doing free DLC, by the way, what I would absolutely love to see is a Mountains of Madness.
That's actually exactly what I've been thinking about doing.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm thinking about trying to do something. I don't know, like, this might never happen, so I'm not making any promises, but I would like to do is, like, some sort of infinite or maybe, like, 99 level dungeon based on Mountains of Madness.
That would be really cool. I would even be okay with, like, paid DLC for that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I would definitely get that. Especially, you could really change things up with a Mountain of Madness setting.
Yeah, for sure.
Be a bit more Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what I was going to say with that. Anyways,
Poe asked, is the graveyard significant? I'm assuming Poe means, like, towards Easter eggs, secrets, whatever. Or it might just be, is it influenced by any Lovecraftian thing that you were thinking about when you made the graveyard?
Yeah,
God.
The graveyard is one of a few special rooms that only shows up once in a while. There's no significance of it, like, toward the secrets of the end game or anything, but it does always have some special piece of gear at the back of it. So if you see it and you want to brave, jumping in there with the Shoggoth, you can sometimes get something cool there.
Oh, is he always in the graveyard?
Yeah.
oh god, there's
I don't even know how
There is always one in the graveyard. They can be other places too, but there's always one in there.
I was thinking, I don't even know how I encountered the one I got into then. But that makes sense now that you said that they can spawn outside also. Because I haven't even seen the graveyard until just now on Yessik's stream. But yeah. Poe wants to know, what do you do with the holy symbol?
You can't do anything with the holy symbol.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
It's
not as good as a wink to a man who knows. Say no more, say no more.
It is part of the secrets to one of the other endings, but that's all I'm going to say about it.
Do you have like a large number of endings for the game?
There's 3 endings.
Okay. Are any of them considered bad or good, or are they just kind of all like, whatever?
I call them the bad, good, and true endings. They're like, the bad ending isn't really bad, but I just needed something to call them. But there's very much like a sequence of, if you don't get any of the secrets, you get the bad ending. If you get some of them, you get the good ending. If you do everything right, you get the true ending.
Wow, Yessik is finding a lot of fountains in his playthrough. Sorry to sort of get off topic there, because we were talking about the endings, but I was just surprised, because I only ever found like 1 fountain per world.
Yeah, the fountains, they're randomly generated, and sometimes you get a lot of them, sometimes you don't. Generally, the first world, you should be able to exit with at least 5 health, but yeah, sometimes you get like a really bad seed, and, there's just not enough there.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, I'll ask my last question. So were there any large features that you either never got to implement or had to cut halfway through development? I know you've talked to me about co-op, but you can mention that and everything.
Yeah. So I, very early, in the earliest days of Eldritch, before there was even the Lovecraft theme, when I was just doing some experiments with a voxel world, I was trying to make a co-op game. Because I was playing Spelunky at the time, and I liked that Spelunky had co-op, and I thought, doing a kind of Bioshock-y game with co-op in a random world, that could be really cool. But I quickly found that, like, it was going to at least triple the amount of time that everything took to program, so it just wasn't feasible for this game, which is sad, because I still think it'd be really fun. Maybe if I do an Eldritch 2, like, I'll try to make that co-op.
Uh-huh. I know in my initial email with you, I said that something like it might sort of ruin that atmosphere, but I'd been thinking about it recently also, and I sort of thought that it would be a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, I think some of the creepiness, might be lost if you had other people there playing with you, but I don't know, it would be fun to try.
Yeah.
I just exited the world instead of picking up the Soul of Dragon.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wait, what is he doing?
Yeah.
I also saw how you trapped the thing. I always forget its name.
The Shoggoth? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to
Shoggoth.
understand why this game is horrifying to some people. If I did not have these blocks to put in those things away, I would have been dead.
I actually haven't seen those blocks before.
Yeah, it's one of the powers that you can get. There's 6 different powers.
Oh, okay.
This was one.
I've run into 2 or 3 of the powers.
Yeah.
Can I go to the second world without the Soul of Dragon? No.
No, let's go back. I almost cut the block power, actually, because I didn't feel like it was that useful. But
Are you kidding me?
It's turned out to be the one that almost everyone loves the most, so I'm glad I didn't cut it.
So what, is it okay to, like, say all of the powers, or?
Oh, yeah. There's
Okay.
There's block. There's lift, which lets you, it's kind of like an infinite number of jumps. You can keep jumping when you're in the air. There's teleport, which works like the translocator from Unreal Tournament. You throw it out and then you warp to wherever it landed.
Uh-huh.
There's
I can
Cloak.
see that being incredibly useful.
It's my favorite power. It is really good. There's Cloak, which makes you invisible for about 10 seconds, but enemies can still hear your footsteps. There is Hypnotize, which will turn enemies to your side. And I think you can even hypnotize Shoggoths, although I can't remember now if I disabled that. But some of the enemies, they'll only be hypnotized for a few seconds. But while they're hypnotized, they'll fight other enemies and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Well, you know,
That is pretty cool.
again, lore-wise, that actually kind of makes sense. If you were to pick up the Necronomicon and read through it a bit,
Yeah,
you can kind of
And,
gain their powers.
I've missed one power. Oh, Knock is the last power, which it unlocks locked doors and also lets you like throw a sound onto walls to distract enemies. So if you're trying to play stealthy, it's pretty useful.
Oh, that is pretty cool. What would you think would be more effective if you were playing a stealth playthrough? You already got your sneak boots and everything, but do you think that the lock one or the stealth or the cloak would be more useful?
Cloak is really useful in the last couple of worlds just because there's so many enemies and they're really tough. Yeah, I think my preference is actually to do stealth boots and teleport. And then I don't even use the gun most of the time. I'll just run around, like, sneak up behind guys, teleport behind them or whatever, stab them a few times. That's my favorite way to play.
Do you actually get sneak damage when you
Yeah,
attack?
all damage that you do, whether it's from a gun, from the knife, from throwing a rock, whatever it is, will deal more damage if the enemy doesn't know that you're there yet. Once they've seen you and start coming after you, then you lose that bonus.
Okay. Spooter wants to know what kind of loser buys things. And I kind of want to second that question towards Yessik.
Yeah, the shopkeepers in this world, they're a little easy. I'm buffing them up a little bit in the beta, but in the next couple of worlds, you'll fight shopkeepers who have ranged attacks. And
Oh yeah, I definitely did notice that the shopkeeper in the second world did seem tougher.
yeah, so yeah, those guys, they'll kick my ass if I try to steal from them.
But can you get sneak damage off on them if you just hide in a corner and shoot them over and over again?
You only get sneak damage on the first attack, which isn't enough to kill them.
Oh god. Okay,
There
sorry,
was
just
one
took
more
full damage.
question. Oh yeah, it's not a legitimate question. It kind of is, I guess. Poe wanted to know if you were going to nerf the knife.
I'm not planning to nerf it yet. Like a lot of people have mentioned that it's really strong, but I like that about it. So,
Yeah, I like that too.
yeah, it could happen, but I'm not planning to.
Poe needs to quit their complaining. Oh man, Yessik, you are so close to dying.
Yeah, I'm alright.
All right. Well, unless the chat has any more questions, I think.
Another question or idea is you could always nerf the direct damage of the knife, but up its sneak damage.
Yeah,
Make it a very roguey weapon.
yeah.
But even in a direct combat, if you actually have a knife, like in real life, you can still do a lot of damage with that.
Yes, but it's not against Lovecraftian monsters.
Yeah.
But what about the mage guy? Like, come
I
on.
want the knife to be better than just punching things, but it's already faster, so it doesn't need to be faster and deal more damage too. So, but yeah, I'll figure all that stuff out hopefully in the next few weeks when, hundreds of people are playing the beta, which that's going to be great and also a little bit scary.
So is stealth your favorite way to play through the game?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm a huge fan of the Thief games, and I played Dishonored stealthy the first time that I played it. I go for
Did
stealth.
you get it with 0 kills?
No, I haven't done that yet.
Oh, it's so difficult. I think when I first started trying to do it, that there was a bug where, some characters would just die for
Yeah.
no reason.
Well, I know,
Because I made sure that I put everybody on a high enough table that if they fell, they wouldn't die, but that no rats would get to them or
Yeah,
anything
rats
either.
can sometimes
And I
just
always ended up with just one kill. And I was like, how does this happen?
But yeah, I definitely go for the stealth play style in any game that offers it. So.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to do. I didn't really think about a stealth playthrough of Eldritch until later, more recently in my time playing it, but I'll definitely have to try doing that.
Yeah, I did. I actually did non-lethal vegan playthrough one time, and I've tuned the game a lot since then. I think it would be harder than when I tried it, but it was like the most challenging, intense experience I'd had playing Eldritch. And it's really cool that like I can still challenge myself that way.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna try that challenge. I'll probably end up recording it too.
Nice.
Just because people will probably want to see my rage and losing. Anyway, any more questions? I don't think there were. But a lot of people do want you to kill that shopkeeper.
Did you play through a six-sided Sanctuary in stealth playthrough? I'm not sure who that question's directed to. Personally, yeah, I played through all of
What would a
it.
stealth playthrough in Six-Sided Sanctuary even look like?
All the materials are black and you can't tell which are which.
Wait, what is Six-Sided Sanctuary?
It's
What?
a post-puzzle game. It's really good.
Yeah. A German website reviewed it saying it was vindictively hard.
Huh. I somehow haven't heard of that. Although apparently Zero Doxy likes it because when you Google search Six-Sided Sanctuary, her picture is like the 40th thing to come up. Oh, there's Jay Riaz. Anyway, so the end of this interview kind of got way off track. Anyway.
Let's shut it down then.
All right, I will. So this has been our interview with David Pittman. And like I said, he made Eldritch, and he also worked on Bioshock 2 and the Bureau XCOM Declassified. Thank you for coming out, David.
Yeah.
Well, I say out as if you're like right next to me, but thank you for joining our Skype call.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for your questions. I'll stick on the call, I guess, for a bit if people want to ask questions in the chat, or else if you got to go, I can get off Skype.
I'm fine with sticking around for a little while.
Well, I'm still playing, so I'm good.
Cool. Yeah, I'll keep watching the stream and I'll answer questions if anyone has any.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about being so silent. It's just that there were some horrifying moments there. Apparently, you just spawned like all the invincible enemies in my first world.
I realized I asked no questions about the library. How big is the library exactly? I know there are multiple floors.
Yeah, it's as big as any one level in the game, but there's not actually a lot to see in it. Pretty much everything that you need is just centered around the hub there where you start.
You have a lot of books that you can read spread around there, don't you?
There are, yeah. If you want to pick up the little bit of story that's in the game, that is where you can do it.
Okay.
I have a question for you. You may or may not know the answer to this. Is, well, now that we're in the informal interview, oh God,
Yessik,
no.
be very careful.
Yeah, I'm already at 2 life. I need to take my gun out. Is H.P. Lovecraft in the public domain?
I believe most of his works are, if not all of them.
I know there's been a lot of controversy about whether his works are public domain, just because I think like the thing with his stuff was like right around the period where I don't remember. I remember reading about it once, but I don't remember. So just stop listening to me.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure.
Because if it is, you could probably this is making me nervous. You could probably just put in the library every single Cthulhu story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to actually include at least some quotes from Lovecraft stories. I wanted to start the game with the Nameless City Strange Eons quote, and then it just didn't really fit into the flow, so I took it out. But it would probably be appropriate to actually introduce people to some of Lovecraft's actual writing.
Man, I get scared just watching Second World gameplay. I can't even hear it. Like I said, I usually get scared from the ambient sounds in the world or whatever. But like just watching Yessik and the mystery of thinking that one of those stone guys are going to come up behind him is just killing me.
Yeah.
I do.
He hasn't run into one yet, has he?
I'm really surprised because I ran into them constantly. Oh wait, you can punch while you have your other weapons out?
No, I just used magic.
Oh.
I just don't know what magic I have on me right now, so it was just mystery magic.
Oh, fair enough.
Magical mystery magic. Any other questions in the chat here? Oh, man. I should not have Moobot pimping me right now. Oh well. I should probably having it direct them to your store page.
Yeah, let's do that.
Actually, the most useful thing right now would be if people can go vote us up on Greenlight. That would be awesome. Try to get us on Steam.
Do you have the link for that?
There is the link for that. I just put it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Lovely.
And then also I will put in the chat, if anyone thinks this game looks cool and wants to buy it, you can do that at eldritchgame.com.
Why is it in German for me?
Well, one of the mods who was in here for quite a while asked a question. Unfortunately, he's gone now, so we'll never hear the answer. Can Greenlight stats be public knowledge, or is there an NDA on them?
I would have to go read the terms again. I don't think there's an NDA on them, although obviously Steam doesn't really want to publicize those because like they don't show how the games are stack ranked, and I think that's just to avoid like competition between games. But certainly some people have published their stats and they seem to be okay with that.
Oh, they can be public. Apparently, I just walked on the death floor, so that wasn't very fun.
I think you may walk through a tripwire.
Exotics is hilarious.
Message tweeted.
Yeah, I had to ban him for that.
Uh-oh.
It's not like it's technically ban worthy, but he didn't do anything specifically wrong. I don't know if you'll be like slightly upset over this, David, but he accidentally posted a press release code, and so he was like, "Somebody quick, ban me!" So I banned him real fast.
Oh.
I hope nobody got it.
Did you time out him, or did you ban him?
I banned him.
A code for what? Because there are no codes for Eldritch yet.
Oh, well, I don't know what it was for then.
Did he accidentally post like the login/password?
The what?
Never mind.
No, it was some Steam code. I don't know what for.
So you can deposit money, but money isn't actually all that useful. In terms of going into a world fresh.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of making it possible in the future to like maybe deposit spare weapons?
Probably not. Like you can get weapons pretty easily, and it would like
It might sort of break the challenge in other worlds if you just kept going to World 1 over and over again and just building up thousands of bullets. Like at first I thought that it would be a really cool idea. I don't mean to answer the question for you, but I was just sort of saying what I thought about it.
That's fine.
At first I did think that it would be a cool idea and everything, but I ended up thinking that it would break the game.
It could be really beneficial, like to be able to get bullets or to stash some gear in there. But since you can get bullets and you can get gear with money, it seemed like if you can just put that stuff in there and then jump straight into any world, like it kind of bypasses some of the challenge and some of the gameplay of like taking your money and going and finding the thing that you want to buy. And I want there to be that element of risk where it's like, I'm taking out 120 artifacts because I know I want to go buy the medical kit and whatever else. And then if you die, you lose that. And so I want there to be that kind of risk reward of actually taking something out instead of it just being like, oh yeah, here's my gear and I'm going to go play with the gear that I put in there.
I noticed that when you were talking about the bad food also being possible to heal you, I noticed that added a huge risk-reward factor because you might be down on 1 health and you really need that health or something, so you could take the risk. And I realized I actually ran into that same thing on accident because I was on 1 health once and I saw bad meat, but I didn't know it was bad meat at the time because I didn't even know bad meat existed, and so I ate it, but it killed me. So.
Yeah.
Do you have Slender Man in this goddamn game? I think I just saw Slender Man.
Yeah, it's kind of Slender Man-ish.
What are those supposed to be?
They're mummies.
Are those actually killable?
Not permanently. Like 1 hit puts them down, but they'll get back up.
Yeah, I knew about the them getting downed and everything. I just wasn't sure if they were actually perma-killable.
Yeah.
So not even dynamite kills them or anything?
Nope.
I'm gonna die unless I can punch another lizard man to death.
Don't you have stealth right now?
What do you mean? Do I have stealth?
Or cloak? Sorry.
No, I lost it because I died.
Oh, right. I would keep that dynamite. I know you are, but I'm just saying that's incredibly useful in World
That's supposed
2.
to be a mummy? That is horrifying. That is like Zelda mummies. I'm
Yeah.
running.
What are those things called in Zelda? Dead hand or something?
I don't know what they're called, but I just know that I always ran away from them because I was 12 and I was really scared.
They're really not that bad in World 2.
Yeah, that's what they're called.
I mean, they'll definitely keep coming for you, but I didn't think it was too challenging just to keep knocking them down.
Yeah,
Well,
but
the
it
mummies
brings...
by themselves aren't that challenging, but what they do is they force you to keep moving, which if you get a mummy and a statue in the same room, like
I
the mummy's
encountered
trying
that
to make
exact
you move,
scenario.
and the statue is trying to make you like take your time and think. So the combination of them is really deadly.
Yeah, like I said, I was in that exact scenario, and that was terrible. Like, I was just like, what do I do?
Does this level go upwards?
No. All three of these worlds that you get to from the hub go downward.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm
Of course,
surprised I'm not
somebody
dead.
said kind of looks like Minecraft.
It does look kind of like mine. That is a fair assessment.
Yes, but it doesn't play anything like Minecraft, so there's always that. No, hell. I think I almost just killed this guy. This guy with the...
Oh, I saw an interesting question just now.
That's Mario. Okay.
Somebody wanted to know, I can't remember if you already answered this, but somebody wanted to know if you could pickpocket.
No, you cannot pickpocket.
One of my favorite things about
Would you be interested
this...
in having that in the game at all or anything?
Honestly, until it was brought up in the chat, I don't think I'd ever thought about it. It would be cool. Like it's the kind of thing that I think the player might expect to do, but like it won't be in the game at this point.
Here's another interesting but extremely controversial question. Poe said, has it ever, and it's a sort of interesting one for me because it also applies to me since I kind of want it to be a game developer and everything. Has it ever been an issue that you say that you're a Christian on your Twitter?
It has not been an issue. I've got a few comments from other people who are Christian who really appreciate the fact that I put that out there publicly, but no one's ever been negative about it. So I'm grateful for that.
That's cool.
You know, except for people who are absolutely ridiculous, I've always been live and let live when it comes to belief. It's just
Yeah, that's how I
fun.
feel too. So
that is until people start being ridiculous about it.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm talking to you fucking atheists too. You guys can be just as intense, and you guys I'm sort of included in that rank, but fuck you too. Excuse my language.
I don't want to sound like judgmental about it, but it seems like Christians and atheists are typically like the worst about doing those two kind of things.
For a long
And
time,
I speak that as being a Christian too, so...
For the longest time, atheists were on the defensive. Like, it was incredibly hard to actually get a job in the United States until recent years if you labeled yourself as an atheist, because companies were allowed to put on their employment forms what religion do you belong to.
Yeah.
And we were like 10,000 times less likely to be hired.
I didn't even know about that.
Not to mention there were also kind of hundreds of years of prosecution, like being called heretics, branded as heretics, and killed burnt to death, generally.
That is so crazy. Whatever.
There's reasons for all cultural behavior is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Poe says nihilist isn't a religious preference, and that's just because you don't believe in anything. That was supposed to be a reference to whatever. What's that movie? Jeff Bridges.
Esky.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies ever. My next game is totally going to be a Big Lebowski kind of thing.
That would be so awesome. or if you made some free DLC that basically like turned Eldritch into a Big Lebowski looking thing. I don't know. That'd be hilarious to see.
Yeah.
Somebody's probably gonna make that now.
Just throw a bowling ball around, yeah.
Okay, weird question here. Does a stealth gun? Apparently, I can't say stealth. Does the tripwire gun get stealth damage?
I think it does. I don't actually remember, but I think everything gets stealth damage. Like, the way that I programmed it is just the enemies take more damage if they don't know about you, so everything should. Like, I think even if enemies are fighting each other, they may be dealing more damage because they don't know about the player.
Wow.
It's some kind of really hacky thing like that, but it works most of the time.
I
That's
really
pretty
like
awesome.
that, actually.
Oh, I just realized why you put I can't say the old gods' names, but as World 2, or as why you put World 2's art design as the old god that represents it or whatever, because of
Yeah.
the whole Egypt thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I just realized that.
yeah,
I
it's-
feel so dumb.
loosely based on the Nameless City.
You may have even mentioned that. I guess I don't know. This is Jamzoo's first live Yessik Ziiiq show, apparently.
Oh, never mind then. I was just typing to him that I don't talk to the chat when I'm doing an interview.
Oh, sorry. I figured the like official interview part was kind of done.
Yeah, true enough. I'm trying to remember. Do you guys know what sleep drunkenness is?
No, I've never heard.
That is an official medical term, by the way.
No, I haven't heard of that either, unless you've mentioned it before.
Sleep drunkenness is actually the medical term for the feeling you get when you've slept too many hours in the day.
Oh, okay.
And right now I am sleep drunk as hell. Like,
Yeah, you woke up right before I messaged you, right?
yeah, I woke up at like 3 my time,
Oh,
and
Wow.
it was. So I'm just like feeling real lethargic right now. Also, sup, lonely girl. Nice to have you around, man.
so I guess this is still sort of related to the interview. You said that your brother didn't do anything for Eldritch, right?
Yeah, Eldritch was 99% my game. Kyle contributed some ideas, and we work on the business together, but he's actually making a separate game. That I guess he's going to announce sometime next year.
Oh, okay. So are you gonna be helping with that at all?
I'm not planning to. Right now, the way that we're working is kind of like a collective. So we have our business together, and we share business responsibilities, and we do some revenue sharing from the games. But we both just kind of wanted to make our games individually, so we made a company where we could do that.
Okay, that's actually really awesome. I was gonna ask about if Minor Key Games had like any big future plans, but I guess you sort of answered that question without me even having to ask.
Yeah, I mean, and it's possible too that in the future we'll work on the game together, and we can share technology with each other if we want. But yeah, right now we're loving the fact that we can make our individual games.
That is pretty neat.
So it's kind of at this point, just a conglomerate company.
Yeah, of two people. If that can be
Yeah.
a conglomerate.
Well, officially speaking, I'm a company, and I think if I have one more person, officially speaking, I'm a conglomerate.
Yeah, I guess so then.
Yeah. So. It was weird. Weird. I'm not even sure. Well, actually, I do know exactly why I'm incorporated. It makes sense. Oh, God.
What?
What? Why?
I haven't seen what you ran into yet. Oh, that is spooky.
Yeah, I'm dead again. The thing is that right now I'm trying to rush through. I'm just incorporated in case of bankruptcy and in case of tax returns.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty
Legal
m-
stuff. Yay.
Well, no.
You could actually make a living off of the Steam market, apparently.
Selling
Really?
trading cards or what?
I don't think anybody's made the living off of selling trading cards,
What
but
are
off
they
of
selling?
like TF2 items and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah, I know someone who I forget if she just made some TF2 gear or like if she placed in a contest that got her featured by Valve, but she made like thousands of dollars off something like one item that she put in TF2.
Yeah, supposedly there are people that are making over $20,000 doing that.
Wow.
To be honest, I was until the real money auction house was canceled in Diablo, which I don't blame them for. It's
That
a
got
really
canceled?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're taking
Oh.
it down.
Wow.
But I don't blame them for that decision at all. It's a really
I
good
don't
decision.
either.
Yeah.
It was kind of a strange, strange how they sold that. They were like, "Look at this huge feature that's so game changing," and I don't know. I didn't really think it was that big of a deal anyway.
Well,
I don't know.
the thing is, it did change the game. It just changed it into being almost unplayable.
Yeah, it made it seem like people were playing it just to make money or whatever.
I
don't know.
dropped. Well, no,
I didn't
because
really care about the game anyway. So
because there were almost no good loot drops. Instead of good loot drops, there were very rare good loot drops, and people spending all their time in the auction house just buying up those good loot drops, even not for real money.
yeah,
So instead of the game being focused on killing monsters to get cool loot, the game was focused on grinding money so you could afford the auction house.
So
Yeah, which
random thing here. Guess what game just got trading cards?
Which game?
The Showdown Effect.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, I think it's time for some revisits.
Oh, I love that game. Have you played that game, David?
I don't know if I've even heard of that game. What is it?
The Showdown Effect?
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar.
So I have a
It's-
question.
Oh,
Sorry,
are
this
stuck.
is kind of pressing for me. If you jump into a locked area that is surrounded by 2 locked doors and you don't have a key, are you just fucking stuck forever?
You are screwed. Oh.
Unless you have the block power.
Yeah, if you had block, if you had knock, you could unlock the doors. If you had the amulet of destruction, you could just blast down the walls. But you don't have any of those things right now.
Misty Pony, I thought you had actually gone out of town for the day because you told me that you were out of town and therefore I could reschedule the stream that you paid for.
Mr. Pony's sick or something. Said they threw up or something earlier, telling something.
Despic and Jessica don't count as what? As what? I don't know. Oh, sure. If they want to make my net worth of $0, they can be in my company. So I'm gonna have to just resurrect. I like how you actually have a resurrect button in the menu. Kind of nice.
Yeah, I had to do that just for that case. If you get stuck, you need a way to...
How rare is that chance that you actually get stuck?
There's a few rooms like that with locked doors where it can happen. And I've seen one time in all the playtesting I did, a case where just like the random level generation created a place where I dropped off like a small overhang and had no way to get back up. But it's really rare that that kind of thing happens.
I thought so, because there was one point where I was actually searching for something like that exact thing, and I ended up finding something close, but I still made it out.
Yeah, like, it's supposed to be, like, 100% of the time you should be able to find your way through to the end of the level, and, like, 99% of the time there should be no way to get stuck. Once in a while, like, if you make a jump into a place that has locked doors, it can happen, but it's kind of like, it's also a little bit the player's fault for having jumped into that space without looking.
Yeah.
Like, there should never be a time when, like, the level is just like, oh, hey, this is the one way you can go, and now you're stuck, kind of thing.
You know, there's something incredibly funny and satisfying about just going around punching Lovecraft monsters in the face. Like, normally that would almost be a negative comment coming from me, but no, it's never been done, so I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
fucking revenge.
Now, I know that a lot of people are saying that the fist is OP, and I say a lot of people, but I really mean I think I just saw one person in chat say it. But are you going to make any sort of extra benefits for, like, if they do...
For fisting?
Pretty much. And I don't mean that in the way Yessik did, so...
So there's not... Like, one thing that I thought about doing was kind of, like, officially tracking certain kinds of conduct, like, you know, acknowledge if the player does like a no weapons run or like a non-lethal run or anything like that. But I didn't feel like I knew what all the kinds of things people would want to do was, and I didn't want to like effectively canonize certain play styles and ignore others. So I ended up not tracking any of them. But like, that's something that is really cool to me when people do those kind of, voluntary constraints on how they play, and it's something that Eldritch is really good at supporting. So I do hope that people do that kind of stuff. But the game doesn't like acknowledge it or give you any benefit for doing it.
Okay.
This is OP.
You just killed yourself.
Yeah, I didn't notice I hit there.
Anyway, I think I'm gonna head out just because I think David has to leave soon also, and I want to eat dinner. So
yeah, well, thank you guys for streaming, and thanks for your questions.
No problem.
Thanks again for joining us and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.